This is a lesson over writing antagonists. Our essential question is, what are the types of antagonists common in literature, and how can we develop them effectively in our own writing? We're going to continue to use Harry Potter as our examples. One type of antagonist is the evil villain. The evil villain is best used if you are writing a fantasy or a horror story. Make sure that with the evil villain you add depth or a backstory. So for example, Lord Voldemort, you learn about how he was born to a Muggle father, how he had disdain for his parents, in fact ended up killing them. That makes them have a little bit more depth to their character. Avoid making them into a cliché or a stereotypical evil villain. Lord Voldemort is interesting because of his past, so give your antagonist or your evil villain a backstory if you choose to use this type of antagonist. There's also the everyday antagonist. These are best used in realistic fiction or romance, but can be used in pretty much any other genre. Consider making them equally intelligent, strong, or capable as the protagonist to create some depth. Malfoy is just as good at flying on his broomstick and Quidditch as Harry is. He's also very powerful magically. That makes him an interesting antagonist for Harry. And then give them realistic motivations for their behavior. Create a way to make sympathy for them. We find out later that Malfoy's parents are really awful people and awful to him, and therefore we have some sympathy for this character. Another type of antagonist is the Immortal Entity. This is when the protagonist doesn't have a conflict with a single human being, but rather a group of people or an organization like the government or a social system. Think of the conflict type of man versus society. The entity wants to suppress or harm the protagonist, whether directly or simply because the protagonist belongs to a certain group of people, as a way to attain power, wealth, revenge, or success. This immortal entity is best used in action-heavy fantasy, science fiction, thriller, and adventure. The example from Harry Potter is the Ministry of Magic, hoping to suppress Harry when he claims that Voldemort returns. There's also the internal struggle. This is when the antagonist is actually the protagonist themselves. It's an element of their own personality. This is best used in character-driven stories such as romances and realistic or contemporary stories. This is where the protagonist must confront a doubt, fear, flaw, or regret in order to overcome their struggles and find happiness or success. A few tips when writing antagonists. Give them depth. Consider a backstory, a sympathetic flaw, and make them as dynamic and interesting as the protagonist. Or consider keeping the antagonist a mystery until the climax. This creates tension and interest for the reader. This would work well with a mystery or thriller story. And third, remember that antagonists help drive the conflict, but can also be used to resolve it. Antagonists with a change of heart are a great writing technique and a great way to resolve your story. Think back to Each Kindness by Jacqueline Woodson, when Chloe realized her mistake in bullying Maya. That's an example of antagonists resolving the conflict. Thanks for watching.